In vain I have struggled, it will not do, my feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how much I ardently admire and love you, is a great quote from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. It appears on page 185 and is said by the tone-deaf Mr Darcy during his first proposal to Elizabeth. The epic fail nature of this quote makes me laugh every time, as it so clearly reflects Mr Darcy's pride and his traditionalist views on marriage and class. I'm Tani, and let's analyse this quote in a bit more detail. In this climactic moment of the text, when Mr Darcy proposes to Elizabeth for the first time, he and Elizabeth finally reveal themselves to one another after hiding behind playful dialogue, sarcasm and irony for so long. Through this, Austen highlights the core character flaws that have seen the tension between them build so heavily up until this point. As Darcy initially enters Elizabeth's room in an agitated manner, the audience could be excused for believing it is simply a product of his nervousness at what he is about to say. However, his agitation is really due to his ongoing internal conflict about loving Elizabeth. For Mr Darcy does in fact see himself to be far superior to Elizabeth and her family. This is a real problem for him and highly reflective of the classist values of Regency-era England. This is especially pronounced in his defence of self when he asks Elizabeth whether she could seriously expect him to rejoice in the inferiority of her connections. Elizabeth's evaluation of Mr Darcy as a prideful man is not entirely misguided, though her tendency to make assumptions without sufficient evidence significantly clouds her perception of him. Whilst it was not his intention, Mr Darcy's declaration of love is delivered in a way that deeply insults Elizabeth and her family, and is a first-class illustration of how he does not at all converse easily, as he has earlier owned. The opening of the proposal is full of promise. In vain I have struggled, it will not do, my feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how much I ardently admire and love you. In an almost comedic way, verbal irony foreshadows the failure of Mr Darcy's proposal when the narrator acknowledges that through Mr Darcy, he spoke well, he spoke more eloquently about his pride, and there are similarities between, dare I say it, Mr Collins' proposal and Mr Darcy's offer to Elizabeth. As in both men's speeches, the primary concern is really about the men themselves. In this passage, phrases normally reserved to describe love are applied instead to deliberations about class. Mr Darcy dwelt on with a warmth about the imprudence of marrying someone like Elizabeth. His romantic struggle is revealed to be his internal conflict about the inferiority of the Bennets' social status and the degradation their union would cause to his own. Examining the language of Darcy's proposal, he presents his feelings as if they were an unavoidable punishment, an ill-fated flaw that he wasn't able to be kind enough on himself to avoid or exercise himself of, in spite of all of his endeavours. Much to his surprise, Elizabeth rejects his proposal and in return delivers her own personal blows. Elizabeth's response contains a number of gems, which I do analyse in the full Pride and Prejudice suite of Bear Quotes on bearland.com. There you can subscribe to get a key quote sent to you from Pride and Prejudice with in-depth analysis. One quote and analysis will be sent daily for 50 days. If you want to see all the quotes and analysis at once in your Bear Bank, you can select that option from the site. For free, you can get the 50 quotes with each one sent daily to you without the analysis from bearland.com. It's a great way to get daily reminders on key parts of Pride and Prejudice to help you stay immersed in the text. I hope you got something from that quick analysis. If you did, please like this video, and I do have a few others on the Bear Learn YouTube channel to help you build up your banks of quotes and notes. Speaking of, you may have noticed at the bottom of this screen, we've been taking notes into our Bear Bank. Getting on board is free, and it's a great way to store book quotes and notes so that they're taggable and searchable. Good luck with your assessments. Catch you on the next video.